Hi, it's Jordan Teen 1 here, and in this video I'll be showing you how to make a poinsettia flower for the upcoming holidays. And here is what it looks like. It uses the same concept as the snowflake charm that I made last month. I'll show you what that looked like. So the red flowers on the top layer are the same exact design as the snowflake, only there are 5 petals, whereas the snowflake has 6. And then for the lower layer of petals, it's just 1 additional row to make it stick out a little bit more. And then I've done green for the leaves. I've only added 2, but you can add as many as you like. Now you can make this using either the rainbow loom or the monster tail, and today I'm going to be showing it on the rainbow loom. But if you were to use the monster tail, you would just use 6 pins in the shape of a rectangle. So I have my loom set up so that the center row is taken out, and then the outside pins are in line with one another. And as far as your rubber bands, you will need 121 red rubber bands. And for green, I have 26 bands because I'm going to be making 2 leaves. But if you want to make more or less, you can certainly do that. You would need 13 for each leaf. And then for yellow, I have 11. The first thing I'm going to do is take a red rubber band, and I want to quadruple this. So I'm going to place it on my hook. I'm going to twist and put it back on, twist, put it back on, twist and put it back on. So you'll see 4 rubber bands on there. Now I'm going to take an additional red band. I'm going to get this on my hook, and I just want to slide this other band on. Make sure all 4 of the loops get on there. It's going to go in the center, and then I am going to place it from the left side over to the right. Doesn't really matter where on the loom you place it, as long as you have 6 open pins in the shape of a rectangle. So this would be the center. We'll be using these 6 here. Going to push that down. And now what I'm going to do is get the lower part of the band on the right hand side. I'm going to stretch that down to the pin below. And then on the upper part here, I'm going to stretch that to the pin above. It is going to be a tight stretch, especially using the rainbow loom. It won't be quite as tight on the monster tail. And now on the other side, I'm going to do the same thing. It's going to stretch to the pin below and then also to the pin above. Push that down. And now I'm going to take another red band. It's going to go from the left to the right on this bottom pin, straight across, and then another one at the top. And then I'm going to remove this bottom layer of red. Just going to get released from these 2 pins and slide into the center. And then the same thing again on the other side. It's going to be right in the middle here, push down. And now I'm going to place another red band that goes straight across at the bottom, and then also the top again. I'm going to remove the bottom rubber band from all 4 of these pins. Just going to push that into the center and push down. And now what I'm going to do is take this upper part of the band here on this bottom right pin, and I'm going to stretch this to the pin above. And then the same thing on the left here. It's going to go to that pin above. And now at the top here, it's the bottom part of the band is going to stretch down and over this center pin on both sides. And now I'm going to take 3 rubber bands this time, and they're going to go straight across from the left to the right on all 3 rows. And now I want to remove that bottom layer, So I'm going to do the top one first here. I'm going to go from the right hand side and then the left. And now this bottom rectangle here, I'm going to remove the right side and then the left. I'm going to push this down. And now I want the bands on the right to move over to the left. So I'm just going to remove it and go straight across. Just place it right on the top. And now I want to remove this from the loom. So I'm going to start at the bottom here, and I'll reach my hook down in the pin through the top, pick up these two bands. I'm going to hold that in place with my thumb, move up to the next one, pick up the next two bands. Again, I'll hold those in place, and then finally the top two, get it on my hook, and then I can remove it. So you can see the shape here. And I'm just going to slide this all the way up on my hook because I'm going to get all 5 of them to go on here. So I'm going to repeat this 4 more times, and I am just going to fast forward through this. If you feel like you need help showing you how to make it again, you can go back to the beginning. I'll put the time on to go back to. I've now completed the 5 petals for the top part of my poinsettia, and I have them all on my hook here. So I'm going to take an additional red rubber band. I'm going to put it on the hook part, and what I'm also going to do is take a clip. I have an S clip here, and I'm just going to hook it to the other end of this red rubber band just to help these bands from sliding off the other end as I put them on. And now I'm just going to very carefully get the hook to slide through these rubber bands. So that's one. I'm going to do it for all of them. You just want to try and not get your hook caught up in bands that you don't want it to. And just be careful, even with the clip on the end here, this could still slide off, so just be careful about that. I'm going to do the third one here. I have 2 more to go. And so now I want to take the S clip, going to grab this other end here. I'm going to slide my hook back through it. So I have both of the red rubber bands on the hook. I'm going to take this clip off, and then I'm going to take one more red band and I'm going to slide it through these two. I'm going to put it back on and then slide one end through the other and pull that extra tight to make a slip knot. And now I can spread these out, and you will probably have to do a little adjusting to them to get them to look nice and straight. And so that's going to be the top of the flower. And you can see how there's this loop hanging, and what you're going to do to hide that is to just put it towards the back, whatever you feel is the back of your flower. You can just reach through these bands, grab that loop and pull it through, and you'll just work your way around. Go to the next one here, pull it through these, and just keep working your way around until it's hidden. For the lower section of petals, it's going to be the exact same pattern, only this time we're going to add one extra row. So you're going to start out by quadrupling a red rubber band. and then taking another one and sliding this on. It's going to stretch across the loom. And then you want to stretch out the bottom, pull that to the pin below, and then at the top pull that one to the pin above. Do that on each of the sides. Now you're going to add one band across the bottom, and then one at the top. You want to remove that bottom layer. Push down, and now you're going to put another band across the bottom and then the top. Again, you need to remove the bottom layer. Just slide that in the middle there. And now for this bottom band, you want the top part to come up. And for this upper band, you want the bottom part to come down. And now 3 bands will stretch across from left to right. And when removing this lower layer, you have to do this top rectangle first, since that's the last one we put on. And then you can do the bottom. And that's the pattern that we did for the upper petals. So now all I'm going to do is just add one more layer of 3. And now I'll remove the bottom layer. Push this down. And now the right side is going to move over to the left. Do that for all 3 rows. And then finally I'm going to remove this from the loom. So I'm just going to reach down from the top to the bottom with my hook, starting at the bottom here. Hold this on with my thumb, go through the next 2. Again, hold this on, and then the last 2. Going to pull this out. And so I'm just going to repeat that 5 more times because I do want to have 6 petals for the lower layer, even though we only had 5 for the top. So I'm just going to slide this up on my hook, and I'll just continue making the petals until I have 6 on here. Now I have completed 6 of the lower petals and I have them all lined up on my hook. So what I'm going to do is take an additional red band and I want to slide it through all of these. But first I'm going to take an S-clip, or you can use whatever clip you have available, and I'm going to hook it to one end just to help it prevent from coming off like I did before. Going to put this on my hook and I'm just going to very carefully slide all of these bands through. You just want to really take your time and try and not get hung up on any of the bands. So there's 2 on. There's 3. And again, you just want to be careful that they're not sliding off the other end, which actually that's just starting to happen to me. Okay, I have 2 more to do here. And here's the last one. And now I'm going to get the other end back on. And I can remove this clip. So now I just have the 2 ends of the band that's holding all these together. And I'm going to take an additional red band and slide it through each of those. And get this other end back on my hook. I'm going to slide one end through the other, pull that really tight to make a slip knot so none of that comes apart. And then you can see this shape here. And again, I'm going to have this loop that I need to hide. So I'm just going to reach inside the bands here and pull it through. Just work my way around. So you probably have to go through a couple of these. And you will have to do a little bit of adjustment here. You want the petals to be as straight as possible. And so now you have this lower set of petals, and then you have this upper set of petals, and we need to get them to go together. So the way we're going to do this is by using these yellow bands that's going to make the little balls that are in the center of the flower. So the first step that I'm going to do with the yellow bands is quadruple a band on my hook. So I'm just wrapping it around until I get the 4 loops on there. And then I want to slide that onto another yellow band. Just going to leave it in the middle. And I'm going to actually do that 5 times. Now what I'm going to do is take these poinsettias and leave them like they are with the upper layer and the lower layer. And I want to reach my hook up through the back. So I'm going in the center here, going through both of the middles. And I'm going to grab one part of the yellow, leave the other yellow in my fingers, and I'm going to pull it through the back. I just want to make sure I'm not getting hooked on any of the red bands. And then where one of the openings is in between the petals, I'm just going to grab the other yellow and leave it on my hook. One goes through the other, and it's going to just stay just like that on my hook. Now I'm going to reach up through again. This time I'll take another one, grabbing one end, it's going down through. And now I want to find an area in between the next 2 petals. Go around to the side. Get that on my hook, and now this time the band that's on the end is going to slide through both of the yellow bands that are on my hook. Now I'm going to leave that one on. Again, I need to go through the back to the front, and I want to see where the upper layer of petals, I want to find where they split. And again, I'm grabbing another yellow, pulling the one end down through. And where these petals are separated, I'm going to just go around the side here, get it back on my hook, and that's going to slide through the two that are already on there. It is a little bit tricky to do, so just take your time. Again, it's going up through, and you can see I have a yellow in between here, one in between here, and one in between here. So now I'm going to go to this next set of petals. I want the yellow to go here. So I am hooking it, pulling it down through the middle, and then moving it out to the side in between the next set of petals. Get it back on my hook, and then slide it through the other two yellow. And I'm going back up through, and I should have one more section where there's no yellow in between, which is right here. This is my last one. It's going to come down through on the back side, and on this side it's going to come around in between those petals, go back on, and one is going to go through the other. And then for right now, I'm going to take an additional yellow band, and I'm going to slide this through and then make a slip knot. And that's just going to hang loose for right now. So again, you are going to have to do some adjusting. You want these little parts that are the little yellow balls, they're going to have to slide into the middle here. So just take your time and slide them in to the very center. And you can see my petals got a little bit messed up now from all of this work here, so I just have to adjust them again. And then the last thing that you want to do is the leaves. If you want, you don't have to add leaves, of course, you can just leave it like it is, but I'm going to add leaves, and it's going to follow this same pattern as the lower layer of petals. So I'm not going to bother to show you that since you already know how to make that. We're just changing the color, but we're doing the same pattern. So I'll fast forward here. Now I've made 2 leaves, and of course you can make more if you'd like. And what I'm going to do is take a green band, and I'm going to get this first leaf to get on there. So I'm just going to carefully pull it through here. And then the end that's in my fingers, I'm just going to hook a clip on, just because I don't want it to come apart. And now what I'm going to do is find where I want the leaf to be. So I'll find an area that I think it'll look good sticking out. And I will put it facing outward. And I'm just going to go through a couple of these bands on the back. And then I'll get that end where I have the clip, and I'll slide this back on. Now I can take the clip out. And now I'm just going to slide the one green end through these red, and then also through the other green. And I'll pull that nice and tight to make a slip knot. So you are going to have another loop on the back here. Going to do the same thing on the other side. I'll take my last green band. I'm going to slide it through these ones on my hook. Going to take this clip and hook the end. Now I'll see where I want it to go. Make sure that it's angling outward. Go through some of these red bands on the back. Get the other end on my hook and take off the clip. And now this end can slide through the red and through the other end of the green and pull that really tight. So you are going to have these loops on the back, and what you can do is, if you want to, you can just loop them through one another however you'd like, just to get them a little bit tighter. And then if you want, you can take a clip. They shouldn't come apart, you just want to get them more hidden, and then you can hook the clip to some of the bands that are on here, some of the tighter bands. And then if you turn it over, you will have your poinsettia. And again, every time you mess around with it, you get the petals a little bit messed up. So you can just play around with it so you get it to look nice and perfect. You can move these over if you think they need to be angled a little bit differently. And then you have your flower all set for the holidays. And then here's the one that I showed you at the beginning that I had done first. So it's the same pattern. And of course, you can do different colors. You don't have to do red. I hope that everyone likes their new poinsettia flowers. You can always leave me comments on YouTube and Facebook, post pictures of your creations to my Facebook page, and please feel free to subscribe to my YouTube channel so you can stay up to date on my latest tutorials. You can also find me on Pinterest and Instagram, so please feel free to subscribe to those as well. Thanks for watching!